hello and welcome everyone. Here is Andy. Here is also Nancy, my dear sister. Hello.
Hello.
Today is surprise episode 18 of Bonfire Talks, and and the question that some of you and of course Nancy might have is what the hell, why 18 if it's the first episode of this kind? But I have been thinking today like on bringing some system to my channel because there are so many different episodes: Bonfire Talks, Bonfire Evening Talks, Bonfire whatever. And I thought, well, it's still the same thing, kinda like talking to people about certain topics: education, learning, sometimes just some fun activities. Okay, Halloween I decided to put out of this playlist, but English conversations that are about life and mostly education, I thought I should consolidate them together. And so from podcast number one, which was a demo lesson with my colleague Anastasia, that was 3 years ago, and then English clubs, and then my own podcasts about education, and now our conversation with Nancy. So altogether, there are 18 episodes. Besides that, there are Russian podcasts, podcasts in Russian with my dudes that have stopped for some time. I also have podcasts with interviews in Russian also about education, and then another series of podcasts in Russian about, well, education. Just the previous one was interviewing people how they learned English, and the final one was me talking about teaching and some like what realities of studying English. So several series, and I think I'm slowly getting to the system that I want to have. And actually, I wanted to discuss that. So how the hell do I name these English podcasts? Maybe what I have come up with today, Bonfire Talks. How do they put it in the wallpaper? Speaking about this and that, which is a reference to the meme that Nancy sent me. Uh, it's about Batman who interrogates Joker and asks, "So
Ah,
should we talk about this and that?" Which is itself a reference to another meme about a child who wanted to become a police officer, an interrogator, to ask people about this and that. And then so somebody made this meme about Batman and Joker, and here we go with podcasts about this and that. I don't know, maybe you'll have some better ideas. Maybe Nancy, you'll have some better ideas. But for now, my head exploded, like I couldn't come up with anything better. I wanted something not generic, universal. So here we go. So Nancy, what do you think? Does it sound good to you? What we have today, like the name of the show and siblings, reflections and speculations.
yeah, definitely. As I told you a little bit before, I definitely love the names, and I think it fits to whatever we planned or not planned about today's topic,
Yeah,
today's podcast. Yeah. So I was actually just thinking about the idea for like backgrounds. I've been thinking quite a lot lately about rebranding a little bit or like redesigning your channel.
my channel.
The arts, yes,
Thank you. That's something that's very welcome, actually. Thank you.
because it's like my old art, so
Mm.
it's kind of like I want to. Can I please, if you don't mind?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
sure.
so you with your like talks gave me like some ideas, so I was like writing them down to um, like share them later. So I'm trying to like draw up a little sketch,
Mm.
um, so that I don't forget.
Ah,
So I'm a little bit
okay,
distracted. Sorry.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
there have to be some discussions on it because I want to have a lot of negative space on the in the images because like camera
Yeah.
placement has to be very like it's a complex
Yeah.
question, so we can come to that. And yeah, an important thing actually, yeah, that a lot of art here, like this little bonfire in the right corner, right bottom corner, is Nancy's work and wallpapers, like everything you see on my channel, which is about art, is are her masterpieces. So, well, every piece that you see on my channel is her masterpiece. So, like that. And actually, on the chat, on YouTube chat, we already have
Yeah.
two questions, which we can use as the start of our discussion, surprisingly. So,
Yeah, that's quite big questions though, I like
yeah, I
to
think
speak about.
that will be
Yeah.
enough for, I think, a lot of time. So the question
Yes.
from Natalia: how will the development of neural networks, artificial intelligence, affect the teaching of English and linguistics in general? And the same question from Otto, but with regard to art and drawing. So let's split competencies and then just.
Yeah, but I would hope though to listen your speculations about art as well, about that like AI and art, because it's always interesting to hear what people who are not in the industry think about it.
The same about
And
languages.
I can, yeah, I can share a little bit about like learning a language. Not a teacher, but I learn languages.
So I have talked about that a lot with my students actually. So I have some statements that I want to share. So statement number one, I'm planning to switch to psychology or some other industry. Well, probably it's going to be psychology. I've mentioned that I want to go and study in university to become a clinical psychologist. So it's partly because I don't feel safe in my profession anymore. I don't feel safe. I don't think that. Oh, hello, Alex. Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
Pleasure, big pleasure. So I don't feel safe in my profession because the machines are, well, not overtaken yet, but they're standing next to me, maybe like few steps behind, sometimes a lot of steps in front of me. For example, in terms of translation, let's start with translation. I don't translate now, but when I'm asked, like, how to say, when there is a necessity to do that, well, sometimes I want to help a person with some little task, or when I'm myself interested. So I put a text on Google Translate, for example, or Yandex Translate or DeepL, and they actually provide wonderful levels of translation. Like it's like you don't need to go to a Bureau of Translations very often if it is something for your personal use, because you can just put your text there. Text exactly, not one word, not two words, because you will get balderdash for that. A text and a paragraph, you will get a very high quality translation. What you do need sometimes is some proofreading, and that's where you need a specialist. Of course, you need to check that the AI model, I mean the translation engine, doesn't mess up with some certain close, very like similar notions. Sometimes it can give you something strange, and so here is the trick. So 95% of my students translate worse than Google Translate. So they cannot do it as well as Google does. And I would say that I cannot translate as well as Google in terms of speed. Like I will have to spend like an hour more or a day more, depends on the document, and it will do that in a matter of seconds. And so by that factor, the machine is much more effective and efficient. While it will have mistakes, so I'll have to proofread, but that's not the same as translating. And so the trick is that if you're a client, you still need us both, because you need the machine to do fast translation and you need a specialist to proofread, because you cannot do that. You still don't understand where the mistakes are because you're not in the field. You don't have the same level of competence. Even if you speak English well, you probably don't have the same level of competence. And that means that, and that's a repetitive or recurrent statement, that AI things actually benefit specialists, but not casuals, not ordinary people, because they enhance what specialists can do. While ordinary people cannot really get these benefits because they don't understand whether the machine has made a mistake or not, in terms of the language at least. Speaking of teaching, so
Can I have a little
sure,
remark,
of course,
if
of
you don't
course.
mind, before we change the topic? So about the benefiting, like for the casuals, as you say, um, and benefiting for the professionals, there is like this idea that um, if you if we give like too much, like if we have AI, a lot of jobs are lost because now we can do it faster, and probably we don't need as many people now because we can translate all the context, all the like all the content that we are given a lot faster, so we don't need that many people. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, how do you ensure that the translation is correct?
No, I mean there are still people who are insuring, but we don't need as many translators in the office then, because to ensure like it's still,
Ah,
I guess it's faster.
you mean like those who will do the proofreading for like a company that does
Yeah.
translations? Well, that's a legit statement. Yes, I think I agree because proofreading requires less time usually. Not always, but usually it requires
Mhm.
less time than actual translation. So from that perspective, yes, you will need fewer specialists in the company that does translations. So again, I mean, then translators are in peril in regard
Mhm.
to AI. Speaking of teaching, so here things become complicated because, like, the question is, do you feel comfortable if a gadget translates everything you say to a foreigner? Like, you can go to a restaurant now in Indonesia, or if you are in Canada, so if you're a tourist and don't speak English, you go to the airport there, you go, I mean, you arrive at an airport, you go to the security desk or to the information desk, you go to the taxi driver, you go to the restaurant there, and you just use your phone, like you show, like, well, you type your text, you show to the person, like, this is my, like, you tell your phone, the phone translates, you show the text, and the person you're interacting with says or types something in response, shows you the translation, and thus you interact. What's wrong with that? I don't see much problem actually. So you can do that, and that means that you actually don't have to learn English for touristic purposes or for some short trips abroad. It looks like that. But like my friend said, who is now in Serbia, he said, like, in their company, nobody will wait for you to show phone screens to, like, to conduct a business negotiation. Like, you have to be very fast at your responses. And so it's a question, like, it's, I think it's a matter of personal choice. Do you rely on the machine for such things, which is, at least at least now, it's still not completely reliable. It can make some uh, nonsense stuff, even in English, not to mention some other languages. I think English now is the focus, so we don't speak about Chinese or Arabic or Spanish or Russian. So I'm not sure how machines operate there. So even with English, is not always completely adequate. Well, so do you feel comfortable with delegating your speaking capacity to the machine? The second question is, well, if you need to be very fast at delivering speech and receiving speech, probably that's not your choice. You cannot rely on the machine in that case. Yeah, Nancy, do you have something to say at this point?
A little, yes. I definitely agree with the idea that you like I with Georgian, for example, I don't rely on the machines a lot. I know we have like different like Google Translator, Yandex Translator, and Yandex Translator typically shows like better translations. But at the same time, you still never like I never know if what I'm showing or telling is actually correct and not something super weird. I never can live in like because it's such a different language for me. In Spanish, I could kind of maybe guess that it kind of looks like something that I would say in English, maybe it depends. Um, but with Georgian, it was harder. So yeah, there's definitely if you want to also like assimilate in the society in the community, you definitely need to be able to speak language fast to understand it. Depends on the country, maybe a little bit like how much do you need to do that. Also, I had this experience when I just came here. Like I was looking for trash bins, and I couldn't find them. And I was like, actually, like I needed to ask someone, but people who like in my district didn't speak Russian or English. So I didn't come up with the idea of shoving trash bins, although I think that would be also kind of weird. Uh,
Like, check out my trash bin. Oh.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I tried to like type it in the translator, like the trash bin,
Mhm.
like where is it or something, and I showed it to a lady who was passing by on the street, like on the road, and she looked at me like with complete, like she didn't understand what I mean. But I like the story was that I saw the trash in her hand, and I just followed her.
Mm.
So yeah, that was kind of funny. So for that, if you want to live this experience, it's fun, but definitely like if you want to have a little bit more deep experience in communities somewhere in different countries, definitely you need to learn the language to understand it.
Mhm.
I agree.
So I'm going to talk about some teaching
Yeah.
benefits, teachers' benefits from AI. But first, I think we should read the messages. So
Yeah.
there is a compliment from Natalie that I'm a good teacher, but humanity will benefit more if you become a psychologist. Well, I'm very humbled by your commentary. I'll try my best. Clinical psychology is amazing. We need Russian Jordan Peterson. Although I wouldn't even dream to reach such heights as Jordan Peterson's heights. It's something. I don't know. I mean, he started very early to become what he is now. I think I'm kind of behind the track, but still, thank you very much for such encouragement. And device translation is beneficial in many scenarios, but in some cases it loses sense of natural communication, like making friends, for example, but very helpful in many cases. Yeah, so practically useful, but the human spirit, the vibe is kind of lost, right? So like you want to speak yourself.
Yeah, but actually, I remember I wanted that. I know, like now, is that outside sound
Uh,
to your place?
is there any? I mean, because I'm in headphones, I cannot.
I I heard a little bit something like I heard like a piano sound, but I was speaking so I couldn't hear correctly.
So it's a very how to say, it's a jolly evening in the district. So I apologize. So.
No need to apologize for Jolie, I guess. Yeah, so I know like now we have to like when we try to communicate without knowing the language, we typically have to like type something so we don't look at the person, we type it, then we show it, the person reads it, and then like maybe tries to understand and type something else. So it's like yeah, it's not a natural conversation. It can be fine, but it's still not as much fun as natural conversation.
Mhm.
But I know I looked some like there's definitely some development in the like robotics and whatever. Like you might have like glasses with like instant translation of what you hear right now and what you speak. So maybe it becomes a little bit more natural. Although I'm still like well, I guess unless it's like coming to your ear, like when you hear a person talking, but in your ear you hear the translation immediately. That can be a little bit different.
Mhm.
But definitely to use that commonly everywhere so that you have it like as we have smartphones, it definitely takes some more years. And here's yeah, the question is, are you willing to wait, for example, or you wanna speak?
Oh, I think I wrote a post about that some time ago, and even you even reposted
Yeah.
that. Like, time is now. Like, you do you want to wait for like technology to catch up with teachers and give you
Yeah.
the ability to understand everything? But I mean, books are written now and podcasts are published now, so you probably want to like carpe diem in Latin, so catch the moment and. Um, it's not clear what AI technologies will look like later. I mean, and maybe they'll like Elon Musk's Neuralink thing that is implanted, right? So we don't know what potentiality is there. And with ChatGPT, what it does with language, we know that verbal communication is not as complex as we thought it was, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. But it still is not at the level we probably want it to be at. So, but I think my summary statement about the dangers is that there is clear danger to the profession, both to
Yeah.
teachers and translators. Like, that's why I don't feel safe, and I haven't felt safe since I saw what Google could do like 5 years ago already. At that time, I remember I thought, so I have to be thinking about switching. And so, I mean, languages very often are secondary tools. I mean, like it's very good to be a specialist who speaks English or speaks foreign languages than to only focus on languages, which sounds like a dire truth for teachers and translators. I mean, probably you have time. I have time. We all have time, like to retire and live peacefully because civilization doesn't change too fast, unless, so, unless I mean, the world changes fast and it gains speed. Uh, it so we don't know. It like in my how to say, like what I have seen throughout my life since I was a child. I still remember my father said in 1999 or like 2000, 2001. So I was 9, 10, 11. He said, Andy, can you imagine that Japanese people send text messages to each other? Text messages, like, wow, what technology. And I was like, wow, what technology. And I mean, that was 25 years ago. We were fascinated about SMS, and like, who cares about SMS now? Now SMS is a, like, who would even send me SMS messages? Like, what the hell? Like, why do I need this thing? So we have progressed so fast, and that creates a feeling that in 5 years things can be so different from now. On the other hand, what has radically changed recently? Well, ChatGPT has brought some novelty, some other things. So we could slow down because a breakthrough is not obvious, or we can accelerate ever more. For myself, I choose to play safe, and I want to diversify my skills, not to focus on, not to be locked in one profession. Thankfully, my skills go beyond just teaching because I can moderate English clubs. I can do coaching, I think, language coaching, which is a bit above just teaching in its classical sense. And, well, so psychology again. I think I can go to IT and be a project manager because technically I have been managing people for years. But so that's my choice. And finally, speaking about benefits for teachers, it's also um, a breathtaking tool actually, because, well, unlike many of my colleagues, I'm going to share a secret. A lot of colleagues, a lot of English teachers don't like writing. They teach writing, but they themselves don't like writing. And I'm always shocked, like, well, how can you not like writing? It's so cool. Like, what impact did last eclipse have on turtles? And a lot of people are like, what the hell? Why am I even supposed to think about that? And I'm like, well, it's amazing. Like, such area for imagination, for creativity. Or like, how can you imagine a story? Can you write a story about a pencil, like about its drunken adventures in a world of dinosaurs? I mean, yes, of course. Yes. How many pages do you want? And I mean, that's my like one of my favorite things. I like writing, especially in English. And so when I saw what ChatGPT could do, when I asked it to write a newspaper article criticizing the behavior of Arthas Menethil from Warcraft 3 in a style of a newspaper report about his drunken adventures the day before, and it did it. And it did it so, well, fast, and it was a very, very, well, it was just a hilarious text. And then, as I was preparing for my different lessons, I have seen tons of wonderful content. Like, imagine Shrek comes to Saruman for a job interview to become a security guard at Isengard. And it was like I read the text 5 times. Unfortunately, I lost it, so I cannot give it to you. But I laughed so hard at it. It just cracked me completely. So I lost it many times at the choice of vocabulary. It has flamboyant vocabulary there. And I appreciate a lot what it does. And so in past, I had to create text for my students myself. So we practiced articles. I had to write sentences with articles. We practiced conditionals. I had to create practice for conditionals, modal verbs, and so on and so forth. And what was bad was that I couldn't really invest too much time into customization. So I had to make something universal that I can reuse and reuse and reuse with different groups and people. Now, I don't have to spend 2 hours on one task. I can actually customize. I can ask, can you write 10 conditional sentences, conditional one sentences with Murphy's Law about Nico Bellic from GTA 4, I'm sorry. And GPT says, yes, of course I can. And 1 minute later, I have these sentences. Can you write a story about Baldur's Gate 3 characters, how they found some treasure, and this has to be a fun story with fun vocabulary and a lot of articles, A and D. Yes, of course, I have this story 1 minute later. I just have to, modify the task a bit, so it is a task, in fact. But in an hour, I can prepare a lot of different exercises with different themes for different students. And even more than that, I can reuse those because people have similar interests. Some people like games, some people like movies, some people like, well, whatnot. And I feel like I have like grown a lot of arms and legs, and I'm kind of like a super efficient teacher now because I have such a powerful assistant who has information about the whole world. And it needs just a minute to come up with some very cool stuff that has extremely high level vocabulary and impeccable grammar almost always. And I marvel at that and I revel in that, and it's amazing. So it's a peril, like I said, for teachers. You have to understand that in the future you might not be as relevant on the market, but at the same time now you can be just super professional and super client oriented if you just learn how to use it, which takes less than a day actually to learn how to use it, less than an hour, less than 10 minutes. And if you're a teacher, you will learn, because if you don't learn, what kind of a teacher are you? So that's it.
I want to add to that though. Like from the student perspective, like you're right in that you're saying that you can get sentences from ChatGPT. As a student, I can do that too. Like I go to, like when I learn French, for example, right now, I don't have a teacher, and I kind of know some like basics of French. I've been studying it for 11 years at school, so I kind of get a feeling of the language. I kind of remember something, but I don't remember all the grammar. Um, and I've been using ChatGPT a lot to check my sentences that I write, to explain me, like if I ask it to check it and it corrects it, I ask, why did you correct? What are the like grammatic rules for that mistake? And I get the explanation. Of course, I have to double check it because obviously ChatGPT is not correct every time. Also, it doesn't might not fit for every language. I guess that for Georgian it's a little bit harder to use because for Georgian it's even harder to just to Google for materials. So, like for Georgian, you have to mostly rely on people, on teachers. It's a little bit different situation. But in French, yeah, you're definitely like I can ask ChatGPT to write me a lot of stuff. You have to check it, but yeah, it's already good enough.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up because I actually forgot to say that. Yeah, students can benefit too from going
Yeah.
to ChatGPT directly and talking to it. But so I've told this to many of my students, and I don't, I think, have a single student who uses that systematically. I don't think I have a student who does that like even more than 3 times. I mean, just people do that, get excited, like, wow, it's cool, and then they never come back to that. So
Maybe
it's,
because they have a teacher.
I mean, I think to like Natalia writes, like 95% of people hate writing even in their native language. So that's one thing. Like writing, or rather, passion for writing is a rarity. It's a minority. Like only few people like that. Only few people will choose to spend their time with a screen. Like if they're not working, they probably will stand up and go somewhere else, not sit in front of the screen. Um, it's hard to believe. I mean, people who are on the internet probably think that everyone is on the internet, but it's not true. There are a lot of people who are not on the internet, and people who will actually be gladly outside their working station and outside, not outside, who will be away from their working desk, away from their computer. Even I sometimes want to be away from my computer, but I love internet. I love spending my time with the screen, with my laptop, with PCs. I have been doing that for all my life, and for me it's easy. But I think for the majority, it's not automatically a pleasure, and so they will struggle to sit and actually talk to a robot who is not even a human. And very often people go to study languages for communication. It's very often a, maybe not the primary target, but primary subconscious target. So they crave interaction with living beings, and the machine cannot offer that. So it's not for everyone. It's, well, far away
It's a
from.
tool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
It's,
definitely a tool.
yeah, it's a wonderful tool, but it's not a human. So if you're ready to use that tool, if you are kind of technically, if you're a tech enthusiast, if you're internet enthusiast, probably that's one for you. But I mean, English is everywhere, like podcasts, videos, learning courses, schools, and internet, and robots, and chat robots, and so on and so forth. People still go to teachers and study there, which is funny.
You know, I'm thinking about like what you said about the tech enthusiasts. I wouldn't say that not to discourage people who wouldn't consider themselves a tech enthusiast. Because I, for example, talk to a lot of programmers, and comparing to them, I'm definitely not a tech enthusiast as them,
Mm.
but there's a lot to say about that as well. Um, with ChatGPT, I think it's also about how easy it to get there. For example, with Google Translator, it also can be. I think it might be like in the past, it might have been like harder than having like a vocabulary or whatever. Um, but now it's in our phones. You can get it on the web page. It's actually like auto translates the web page if
Mm-hmm.
it's in a different language, and you don't have to do anything for that. For ChatGPT, you kind of like people are they're afraid of it kind of because how do you use it? How do you need to write stuff? How much does it take to get used to it and blah blah blah. But yeah, I think it's just it's kind of already like a very easy tool. But maybe it needs to be a positive. Like I always feel sad that I'm not Tony Stark who has Jarvis, so I can just go around the house and say whatever, and it does whatever I ask. Even with like Alexa or whatever, like this help around the house, it's not the same as well.
Mm.
Not as good hearing. Not every little chore that you wanted to give. It's different.
So we have smart home, right? We have smart home
Yeah,
devices, bulbs and kettles and whatnot.
yeah.
Do we use them a lot? I think no. Even when they
Depends.
introduced, I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, do you know many people who have that in their house?
I do because I
A
am in
lot.
the field quite a lot. Yeah, I
Mm.
think.
don't know a single one. Okay, one. I know one person out of my. So
I,
maybe I should be asking around more actively, but I'm
well,
under.
I have like friends from game industry, and they're like tech enthusiasts, like programmers and people like that. 3D. Typically, it's like people who work with 3D. Typically, it's people who work with program like codes and everything. I wouldn't say like lots of artists, for example, have something like that in their homes. Not like to say that they don't, but in my experience,
Because when they introduced this OK Google option, I thought, what trash? Like I would never use that.
didn't you like it, or you
I
would like buy the idea?
I thought it was just completely useless. I mean, why would I want to delegate my own clicking to some machine to voice control? And
I
I still have the
what
same impression. Like I still think it's complete trash. Uh,
well
and Alexa the same. Like why would I ask some robot like do this for me? I mean, here I'm kind of less aggressive maybe, but still, I mean, to me it makes no sense. And so I'm this person who is against that change. So probably if I'm shown how it works, I will change my mind, or maybe not. And I remember here a piece from some management book where they told how one guy told that a company bought super expensive equipment, like some computers and stuff, maybe printers for their company, spending like, well, let's say millions of dollars. And when the supplier came later to check how the gadgets were used, they were not used. Like they were still standing idle, and people were doing everything on their older machines or just kind of finding other ways like workarounds. And they're like, what the hell? And so they actually had to organize seminars and literally psychological sessions to walk people through the new gadgets, to show them that they were not their enemies, that they were their friends. And so like changes have to be taught. And I think with the same with ChatGPT, as an educational tool, I think I'll have to spend several lessons just to show what it can do. And even that might not be enough, because like you it's a complex thing. So you have to have a picture of what is communication, and you need to excel at your soft skills also, to kind of be above the situation, which is not something I can say about everyone, unfortunately. Like you need to predict what questions you can be asked, which is quite
why
a
do you need to
competence.
be to predict
So
questions?
because, for example, you can ask ChatGPT to become your interviewer for a job, and then I mean you need to think of that you can ask ChatGPT to be your interviewer, which is obvious to you, right?
It's not as obvious. I think I just kind of heard what people do with ChatGPT.
So a lot of people who I work with, very often when I suggest something, they say, "Oh, I haven't thought of that." And I'm not saying they're not competent. It's just is that I am competent. So I imagine what to do with a tool, but that's because I'm a specialist and have been working like that for many years. And for people, that won't be so easy, because they cannot just suddenly start using ChatGPT like a super effective tool, because they still need some assistant to show them what the tool is capable of, and that will be equal to having a specialist anyway around you. And so it's actually a complex thing.
Or have like a better tutorial
I'm
when you open ChatGPT.
I'm sorry.
Or have like a better tutorial when you open a ChatGPT, for example.
Well, again, how many people go through tutorials? And I mean, it's still not a person; it's still the machine.
Yeah, but have a good one so that people will go through that. I typically like I know some tutorials I go through because they are not so boring, for example, or annoying. Um, but yeah, generally tutorials kind of can be annoying. So that's just a question of developing.
Alex writes, you can make a script, single command that does a chain of things. Uh,
I would actually want to ask, did you use OK Google or something like that and then made your decision? Or because I didn't get it clearly.
I've never used it. I mean,
Ah,
I
didn't
think
try.
okay, maybe I tried. It gave me some nonsense, and I was like, well, of
Was
course,
it long time ago?
yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, why would I do that? Why would I speak to my phone?
Well, for example, when I think about using it, or, like having something like that, is typically, for example, I cook something and I remember that I need to, or like I need to open the recipe on my phone, but like
Mm-hmm.
my hands are like full in food, and like it's like annoying to go wash it, to clean it, and blah blah, then wash my hands after my phone before I cook again. That's a lot of tasks.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just say like, okay, Google, like show me the recipe again, or like, can you Google for me how to boil this, or how long should I do this? It's your assistant. It's
If I'm
it's a
cooking,
second person who can tell you stuff.
if I'm cooking,
Kind of, not a person, but
my phone is already playing the podcast for me in my pocket. So,
well, say stop, switch to Google, then say to your phone, then resume the podcast, please.
mhm.
I just hate to use my hands constantly for like this kind of tasks. I want to be like just going around house commanding to my phone what to do, so that I can just like kind of enjoy my being in the space.
Mhm.
Although that's kind of fun to say when I don't have anything of like smart house in my like apartment, or I don't even use OK Google very much, because whenever I try to use it on my new phone, it doesn't work properly for some like for some reason. So I don't like it because it doesn't work very well
Mhm.
for me. Maybe I actually should, I think, try it again to see how it works. Plus, I also hate that you have to speak quite loud, which is annoying. Because, for example, what you see in Tony Stark movies, he just speaks normal voice. Maybe it's because he has some, I don't know, like chips or something closer to his head, so the system hears
Mm.
him. But yeah, that's what annoys me as well. Because if I'm cooking, I have to say like, "Hey," and
Mm.
then like I have to raise my voice. I don't want to raise my voice.
Yes, that's
I
what
want to be like
irritates
normal.
me in commercials about what was that? Not Alexa, but or Alexa. So it like they show a family and one of them like, "Hey Alexa," and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you so loud?
Yes.
Like, can you tone down, please?" And I
Yes.
mean, even in a commercial, it irritates me so much. So I don't do that, and I don't want to change that, to be honest. So I mean,
But that's a matter of
but
culture.
I mean, it's kind of a separate discussion how to like how to tolerate technology, how to warm up towards technology, how to finally start using this technology. Like progress doesn't care if you care, so it will happen anyway. Like in Deus Ex, you can't stop progress and so on and so forth. But what is interesting is that you can see that I'm, well, I cannot say that I'm progressive. Actually, I'm kind of conservative sometimes, sometimes progressive. With ChatGPT, I think I was progressive, but how much resistance I feel in myself about Google technology, which has been with us for more than 10 years, I think. So what I feel, probably people feel about ChatGPT within the educational context. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's very hard sometimes to change, and I respect that in people because I feel that myself. And I'm not sure, it's not entirely clear to me how easily people can do that, especially if they're not very on like friendly terms with computers, which again is a rare quality outside the IT sphere. It is a rare
Yeah,
quality. So,
that's for sure. Yeah.
and for people, it can be. I mean, I also had cases in my career where people couldn't remember where the grammar page was for 2 years. I'm not joking. They couldn't remember where the grammar page was for 2 years in their own book. And that was partly my mistake because I had to actually say, like, look, you either make an effort or we stop working. I mean, it's just like it stopped being funny 1 year and a half ago. It stopped being funny like a month ago. Like, are you planning to study even or not? So it was my responsibility. Like one of my students said, you have to learn how to study before you start studying. You need to understand how your instruments work, how your student's book works, how your like how to make notes, how to keep your vocabulary, how to use ChatGPT, how to use dictionaries, and so on and so forth. This itself, like people ask me, how many months or like when we will have first results, and I'm beside many things, I'm thinking, well, let's first see when you actually start learning, which I doubt will happen this month. Probably it will happen in half a year, because before this half a year passes, you will be doing anything but not education. You will be learning how to self-educate, how to educate yourself. Because what do you know about education? So that's how it works. So I'm
In
afraid we.
your
Mhm.
yeah, in your practice, does it change how things are going when you say like when you have those conversations? I get like, do you is that um, how you address the students? Like just say like you have to study, you have to do that.
I have a rough plan of what's going to happen in the first 2 or 3 months, like kind of going through material. So I call this calibration. I softly call this not
Mhm.
soft, it's just calibration. So through 2 or 3 months, sometimes it could be a half a year actually, could be a year. I need to show certain things like how to work with the book, what we are aiming at, what we are like, what is the pace supposed to be, what is accountability, like what is responsibility, I mean, what you're supposed to do, what I'm supposed to do, what is your responsibility, what is my responsibility, what dictionaries to use, how to use them, because that's, I mean, that's not an obvious thing. Do you use Google Translate? Do you use Multitron? Do you use Wikipedia? Or, I mean, it's 2 lessons already to speak about dictionaries alone,
Mhm.
not to mention many other things. So it takes time, and I just say that like, look, we're going to calibrate for 2 or 3 months, and then we will see what works and what doesn't. And people who intend to improve, they usually listen, and we pass this stage, and then we enter the real education stage.
Mhm.
So it's a long story, and I actually wanted to jump from education because we have been talking about that for a long time,
Yeah.
and talk about art now because I don't want to kind of um, pull the blanket completely here, and so what? So the question, like the development of neural networks and artificial intelligence with regard to art and drawing.
Well, first of all, it's definitely kind of hard for me to have a very I forgot every word now. Um, to have an opinion, like a concrete opinion on that, because it's changing. Plus, we still don't have the regulations for AIs, um, for the usage of them, like for whose rights are those and stuff. So it's kind of like it's hard sometimes. Um, it also depends, like yeah, when you talk about jobs, it's one thing. When you talk about people just using it for their fun, whatever they need, like a picture, they want to see a picture, that's kind of like another thing. But definitely I can agree here, like that with it's same with the teaching and languages industry. It definitely changes our industry. Some of the tasks you don't have to do as long anymore. You can now skip. Um, you can use um, you can use this time to like you can use this like instrument. Many people don't call it an instrument in art community, so it's kind of also like the discussions in there, but it's mostly because of the ethical ideas about AIs,
What do
our
they call
current
it
AIs
then,
that
if not instrument?
have. hard time to remember. Actually, I don't remember what I heard. I've been listening to the streams like a long time ago. They typically compare AIs with like Photoshop, for example. Like when we didn't have Photoshop and then we got Photoshop, and now, for example, in animation, you don't have to draw it on paper and then like whatever they did to make the cartoons. Now you can do it in computers. So like we invited computers for drawing, and that's an instrument. And many people still say, "Oh, like well, but you don't draw; you use computer." And artists are always like laughing. Well, I
Mm.
am still drawing. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the thing. Like you still have to draw. There's no button to make something beautiful. Well, now kind of there is a button,
Mm.
AI, where but you still like, yeah, you have to like type, you have to find, you have to like, find the correct prompt, you have to adjust, and probably you won't still get whatever was in your head exactly. To get something that was in your head through the AIs takes a lot of time. There's still a lot of mistakes. If you understand art, if you understand the basics, you can see what's wrong with the picture. But it's not exactly like an instrument like Photoshop, for example. You use it a little bit differently, a lot different. It learns as well differently than Photoshop doesn't learn.
Mm-hmm.
You have brushes in Photoshop and you draw, but with AI, you have a machine that learned how a cat looks, how a table looks, and gives you the pictures of it from big database. But definitely it affects the industry. Um, there is a lot of people who are obviously afraid for their jobs. It's definitely harder, I guess, to get into the industry as well. But even like when I got into the industry several years ago, like 5 years ago, when I started my first office job, um, I didn't need to have that much skills as junior artists now I have to have now. And with AIs, you also have to probably have to like understand how to use it. But it also depends on the company. Some companies they don't use AI. Some companies, I guess, use. So
Mm-hmm.
it's as I said, it's complicated because we don't have any regulations on how to use AIs. So it's very hard to say something. It's kind of like, yeah, it is speculations on what to do, what not to do. And you can get like for saying something, you always can have like get a lot of hate from different artists, from different groups of people on your opinion. So internet
Mm-hmm.
as it is at its best. Yeah. So but it's definitely it's a cool instrument if we have regulations. How to train database, like how to on which databases we train the AI, which pictures do we use, whose rights it is, and do we have like a lot of people say if we pay royalties to artists, which artworks we take, it's cool because a lot of artists don't mind um, to have their used to train AIs. I had this conversation yesterday with my friends about AIs.
Mm-hmm.
So like they had this like points as well. Yeah. So but as well, like, it's what my friends also said. Like it's quite cool for people who can't draw to be able to use this instrument, right? Like if you want to have a picture, you probably still wouldn't be able to go to an artist and ask them to draw this. There are a lot of people who like there are a lot of people who still like just copy from internet something if they need a picture just for themselves for their personal use. Um, and I guess those kind of people would go to AI now to have this picture.
So, do you feel endangered because of AI?
I definitely need to adjust, obviously. Need to like understand what's happening, need to understand how it works, how to use it in the future. Um, and it's it's hard to predict, to be honest, but I think definitely, like at work, you don't have to draw as much because of AIs in the future. You wouldn't have to draw everything from scratch. You might need like just to have a prompt, take a picture, adjust it a little bit, change it a little bit, maybe take this from this from that, like collage it, and that's how you get a picture. It depends. So it's faster. Like if I used to need just to draw like if I need to draw a house, I would need to draw it from scratch, like first lines, then decide on colors and blah blah blah, and then to render it, to have textures, to have little like lights, little shadows, blah blah. Now a machine can do it for me, and I can just change it a little bit so that it looks more like I want to. We have the same kind of the same. Like, it's obviously different. Like with 3D, for example, we use 3D in our work. You 3D an object, or you buy someone's object who already pre-made it. You have this object of a house, for example, it's just in gray colors, right? But now you still have your shadows and your lights on this object, on this model of a house. You put it in Photoshop, you add colors. You don't have to work out the shadow light situation. Or you get a 3D model completely with textures, with materials, with light and shadow. You put it in Photoshop, or you even don't even have to put it in Photoshop. You already have like rendered, finished picture of a house. Depends on the style you pick. Depends what you want to need, like what you want to create. So, and sometimes 3D is like faster. The same with photo bash. We like several years ago we didn't know how to regulate photo bashing,
Mm.
how to use it. A lot of people were angry about it as well. Photo bashing is taking a photo, put it on your um, picture, alternating it a little bit, and for example, if you need to texture your table, you may, for example, buy a photo of wooden texture, and then you use it on your picture of a table. You adjust it, you'll add shadows so that it looks realistically.
It
Um,
looks realistic.
realistically, yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah, reading the question from Alex. The
Hmm.
question is, do you really need to do such a boilerplate every time to keep your basic skills on high level, or you care more about things that goes after the AI work?
You know what I thought of
Um,
about cooking? Like to make rice, you don't have to grow carrot and rice and many other things. You just go to the shop and buy them there, and you don't
yeah.
have to invent a stove and so on and so forth. So it feels like a shortcut to what you can do as a human and want to.
Well, everything we think of, we create in our life is a shortcut. Like we can apply this to everything in your life,
Hmm.
but you get more specific and more specific in the future. So I don't think I really understand Alex's comment. Did you, Andy?
Mm, I think that's exactly well.
Or is that what?
So I thought it was about what I said actually. Like you
Uh,
kind of have shortcuts. Um,
maybe it's. I can also say, like for example, with AI work, like repeating myself, if you don't know basics of art, like what's a good composition, what is a good composition, what is good color work. Recently I learned a very fun word. I've been telling this all my fellow artists. It's quite a beautiful word. I might be butchering it a little bit because I don't know Italian, but there is a word chiaroscuro, which is basically a light and shadow situation.
Hmm.
Yeah, I sent it to you in Telegram so that I can see it. But yeah, so like this, the use of strong contrasts between light and dark, for example. It comes from chiaro is, I think, light in Italian, and scuro is dark, or
I
vice
think
versa.
it,
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
it, I think it is oscuro because there is obscure, like something that is not clear, shadowy, an obscure person.
No,
So I think,
scuro is dark.
but I think it's oscuro maybe, no?
No,
Let
I'm reading the screenshot from Google. There is was scuro, dark, shadow, light.
let
Sorry, my
let
Italian
let,
skills.
let me check obscure etymology. Obscurus, dark, obscure, and scuro. You say scuro, proofing, protection, not oscuro.
No, I can send you, like, if you Google this word, you can read what Google says to you about it.
I mean, oscuro is from Spanish dark, and
But I'm Italian, so speaking about Italian.
but Italian is Latin, and
Ah,
Spanish is
yeah.
also Latin.
Okay, let me just
Uh-huh.
a second. So if you Google this word on Google,
Uh-huh.
chiaroscuro,
Uh-huh.
the explanation you're given, like from Italian, there is like the website, I guess, that gives you this information. But there is exactly scuro, the word, not o.
But if I check etymology of chiaroscuro, it's clarus
Well,
for clear and
okay,
obscurus
okay.
for dark.
Well, that's mystery to me. I don't know what to say.
Uh, Interesting. Scuro, dark. Uh, I mean, yeah, we need somebody who speaks Italian here, I guess. And
Or ChatGPT,
well,
if
okay,
you're messy.
Wikipedia. Oh. So the section of Wikipedia that's responsible for etymology says chiaro is
Mhm.
clear and oscuro is dark. So
So it's chiaroscuro. I've been butchering it.
chiaroscuro, yes. About scuro, Italian, Italiano, uh, Italiano. Let's see, Google Translate. Scuro, scuro, scuro. Italian. Yeah, scuro is dark. So I guess they have etymologically older word oscuro and something younger something younger scuro, or maybe something like that. That's my guess. Just
Mm-hmm.
why I began talking about that, not to have a debate about linguistics. It's simpler to remember oscuro
Mm.
because of obscure and because of Russian obscurant, like and camera obscura. So
Well, if it is for you easier, for me it creates more.
obscurant is mракобес.
Uh-huh.
So and obscurantism, mракобесие. So it's like it's all like a family, like obscure, obscurant,
Interesting.
oscuro.
Mm.
And so if for me it would be easier to remember oscuro, and then I'll need to remember chiaro, only one half, not the whole word. That's what I'm trying to do here.
I'm not sure it is really used in art industry because this is first time I met it. I don't know how exactly a person who was using it decided to use it.
Mm,
Why? But yeah, so what I'm saying about Alex's comment, I like commenting on keep your basic skills on high level. Well, you still need to have those basic skills.
mm,
Well, it's not. First of all, it doesn't work like that. You don't have basic skills on high level, I guess, or maybe you can if you want to distinguish it. Like there's 3 levels of basic skills and 3 levels of intermediate skills, 3 levels of high skills, or like I don't know proficiency skills, whatever you want to name it.
mm,
Um, but you still like if the same with the languages, like if you completely trust ChatGPT, you might be you might be lied to sometimes,
misled at some points.
misled.
Yeah. You know what I
Yeah,
also thought? Like,
same with art.
you don't have to learn how Windows is programmed and how computers work to code, right? Like you can just sit down and open and use the language like Python or C sharp and so on and so forth. You
Yeah,
don't like you can go deep and understand like okay, so how did it all start? Like how were the first computers invented and then Bill Gates
you don't have to
and
be an engineer. Yeah,
yeah, so
to
it's
use
it's
it.
probably again another this civilizational attempt to systemize what is systemizable and collect the fruit, only the fruit, not to care about the
Mhm.
other parts of the tree, which and then comes your choice. Like, do you actually choose to go deeper? Sorry, to go more deeply and actually learn the fundamentals, or you just work superficially but still as a specialist. Mm, so yeah, but I wonder how
I
that
wouldn't
feels.
say I wouldn't say that. I mean, at least now with what AIs can create, if we get this regulations about AI, for example, and after we're talking like how to use them, um, if they're the same, you can't use them in your workplace if you don't know the basics.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it on a very good level. You have to be like, if you're speaking in, for example, game industry terms, you can't be a junior. You have to be at least like a middle artist.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand you have because a junior artist might not see some of the mistakes that are in the AI picture.
Mm-hmm. Well,
You
it's
have to
it's
understand.
it's
Plus,
actually.
plus it kind of you have to navigate yourself as well. You have to regulate yourself as well because using AIs might lead you to not studying as much, which is definitely about all the AIs. It's definitely about optimization as well. Like we can get um, a little bit stupider, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
um, because we don't have to do a lot of processing. I was also, like thinking about it in the sense of like for navigation in the city, I typically use Navigator on Google Maps. I don't have to think about north, south. I don't have to think right or left. I just follow I will just follow the Navigator.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think people several years ago used to travel just using maps, like paper maps.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like true. You can't even zoom in there.
Mm-hmm.
You can flip the page maybe, and there is like a zoom in version of the map. It's so hard. I had to navigate like that in Santorini when I didn't have internet. I had just screenshots of the map, but I could have. I did my like I created myself with this map.
Mm-hmm.
I screenshots like zoomed in version, zoomed out version, and then I had to navigate it like a little, which was fun actually. Um, and I thought like, yeah, I have to do that a lot more if I want to remain active mind, I would say.
Mm. But do you have to, I mean, like maybe you'll have some more interesting tasks than that. It's it's like I think it's a recurrent conversation. It's like, wow, we don't do anymore what people used to do. Like we don't have to go to the forest to collect honey from the bees and fight for life with saber-toothed tigers. So I mean, it's and so we don't have to reinvent the computer. We don't have to use paper dictionaries, and we don't have to grow corn to have it for dinner, and so on and so forth. It's like some of my students said, like, yeah, that's the price of civilization, or something. Like, civilization is organized this way now. Like, we are all like a collective of specialists, each knows something, and so we can only survive by exchanging this knowledge. Like, we all know something, and so that's how our world runs. But about art, it's actually quite ironic that technically with AI introduction, the stakes have increased, right? Like, that you have to now be even more competent to use all these things, because
That's what I said. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
won't even enter the field, because you won't be able to, you won't do what you're expected to do, and you won't be able to use the tools that exist at the same time. So yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
I want to do like a remark that
mm,
I didn't say like having specialists in different fields is bad like for us as humans. Just wanted to like underline the idea that with AIs, as an artist, for example, you still have to think if you want to be a good artist, you shouldn't forget about studying and actually drawing as well.
like, your brain has to be as agile as ever.
Yeah, and that's at least what choice I make. Like I personally get sad that I cannot use maps as my father would be able, I guess. I mean, or older generation might be. Not all of them, obviously, but some people. I because I just want. That's just my wish. That's yeah, and that's definitely not about all the fields because um, I might care less about some of the parts of life. I don't want to learn how to do this and that, but I want to learn this and that how to do it. Even though we have automatization in that. Yeah.
Like cars, I don't want to drive, I want to be driven to the place. So I'm really waiting for autopiloted cars. I want to just sit down and just press the button and go to where I want to go, without driver, without driving. I don't care about this industry. I don't care about cars. That's my confession online. So a lot of people, hundreds of millions of people, crave driving, love cars, and I couldn't care less. So, like, one example, like, I want to skip this whole thing from what they started in the 19th century of this internal combustion engine. Henry Ford, cool guy, wonderful empire, like, no problem, but I don't care about your cars, colors of your cars, and so on and so forth. And neither do I care about Cybertruck, which you're supposed to drive yourself. I want flying, self-piloted, uh, whatever. There are commentaries from Alex and Otto also.
Yeah. I was laughing about that.
Yeah, I mean, just in case, no offense to drivers, I'm not trying to devalue the skill. I'm actually, every time I call a taxi, I'm like, wow, this guy is so cool. He drives. I mean, literally, I think, like, I wouldn't be able to do that at this level. So I have immense respect to people who drive, and Otto, to you included, especially because you are in Georgia. So I mean, it's in Tbilisi. It's actually incredible how you managed to do that. For me, it's inconceivable.
I guess what you meant is you are waiting until we can actually drive like we can actually have autopilot in every place, but for that, like we have to have like very good technology and good roads, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere,
Yes, yes.
which can take a while.
But again, taking the speed of progress. So
Yeah.
Alex wrote, I mean, you can pick a middle road when you gain all the skills, but use AI to save your time. Okay, so I think we got the message then, like, kind of shortcuts.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
actually quite hard to discuss it because AI is range it to AI's use range is too wide. I think it was is. You can do stupid things and smart things with that. Uh, yeah. So I mean, it's a topic for probably centuries.
Yeah, definitely. For, for some time as well, definitely. With art as well, it's like we can have several streams on that, but for that as well, I would like to get even more educated. If you want to hear like expert opinion, definitely just listen to experts who are developing AI and experts in art, for example. I
Mm-hmm.
listen to them and I can only kind of say what I heard, what I understood, but at the same time, everything changes a lot and there is a lot more to get notice uh, to, to notice in like fields.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely don't like if you're an expert in if you're an expert in developing AIs, you definitely hear a lot more than an artist who uses AIs
Mm-hmm.
and tries to listen to both. Yeah, but it's always about what you want to do. So, for example, if you don't want to drive, you don't drive. You use autopilot in future.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to drive, you still can drive. You can still learn, and you can still learn how cars are um, built.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want, so in the same with art, like you do you want to do art? You will do art anyways. You're gonna draw on paper, wherever, wherever. It's very easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like curious. Why do you want like AI? Um, do you need it just to like for me as an artist? It's hard to say like why do you want to, it's hard to understand why do you want to skip this part of creating of creative process when you have an idea and you just go and outsource it to someone because I know what creative process is like, and I'd rather not skip it. Although with in workplace we always talk about doing things faster, so that we will have to talk about optimization
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But if you're talking about like a hobby, I'd rather draw. But same in our age, it's hard to like have this time to allow yourself to just sit and draw a whatever in paper for like 8 hours. You don't have those time that time.
Mm-hmm. Well, this unification of technology through different means helps people choose what they actually want to do and how they can manifest their personality, like through art, through music,
Oh
through
yeah,
cooking and
yeah.
driving and other things. Look, I wanted to ask, like, actually, we didn't discuss that. How much time do we want to be live today? Like, I was thinking about 2 hours approximately. Does that sound good to you?
Fine to me. Yeah, I was expecting like we can go to up to 3 hours, but it's definitely your decision because it's later at your place.
Right. Yeah, and I have a meeting, so I mean, surprisingly, but
Ah,
yeah, I will.
no problem. No, that's okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, my girlfriend will come over, so it's that's the thing. But so there was a question that you wanted to ask me, which is, can you teach if you
right.
are not a specialist yourself? Like, can you teach English to A1 students if you are B1? Like, can you teach beginners if you are intermediate,
Mhm.
not advanced and
And
proficient?
with a remark is
For
that
free.
like to do it for free.
For free, yeah.
Yeah, we're not
So
taking so yeah.
do you think we should postpone that maybe to next episode, as it could turn out to be a more global question than we expected? Uh, or I mean, maybe you have some other like more casual weekly questions that we thought of, like reflection stuff, or is it actually something you want to discuss today? And
I don't mind postponing it. It's only how you feel good about it because I asked you because I want to hear your opinion on that as more
mhm.
qualified in that topic. So only you can tell me how deep that question actually is. And I guess it's kind of deep because you can also ask this about art or whatever thing. So maybe it's good to actually postpone to another stream. Would be fun.
What were
Yeah,
questions
and
that were like, you said you had a list?
There is not a list. It's so we still want to have this weekly reflections, right? I think that's a pretty nice thing to have to. Um, I was reading the comment, the
Yeah.
our journey about two
So
and a half
probably
days.
that's a good idea to actually postpone because if we
Yeah,
also get some feedback from the chat, it would be kind of anticlimactic to rapid fire the answers and
yeah,
the
and
discussion.
yes, I agree. I agree. So I think they're actually nice, like to have this around 30 minutes to just have a casual conversation on our weeks. So if you want to keep that routine,
I do. I do.
yeah. So this is well, I wrote like what I used to be doing this week. I used to be. I used what I.
I have a question. How you feel time? I mean, something like eons passing by, like on Monday. Oh, do you remember Monday? That that was like a thousand years ago. So
That is actually how I feel time. No
okay,
jokes. No jokes.
okay.
That's
We have a goddess here. Please, lo and
no.
behold, and on your knees, mortals. So
Don't you feel like that? Like so many things passing in your head, like so many thoughts, so many like stuff happening in your head
probably
that
I'm a demigod.
whatever you
Maybe
are
like maybe I don't feel.
thinking.
I'm but a mortal. I think so.
I always think maybe I'm just not that smart, so that's how I feel like.
Nah, I don't think. I
Maybe
mean,
I have problems with grasping some concepts. That's why Monday feels like toddlers, for example, for them, 2 days ago is a long time ago.
look, I cannot say that like January and February themselves were super slow, no, but let's say like I can feel that in relation to some person. Like it
Mhm.
might feel that we have known each other for much longer than in fact it has been. So like 3 weeks could feel like 3 months.
Mhm.
That I can say that that happened just
Mhm.
well is happening right now. Yes, but speaking of Monday, no, I would say I feel exactly like weeks pass by, so weeks exactly. So
I'm not sure what Monday is.
why do you think it's happening to you? Like two saturated days?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have very saturated days. For example, I've been only in my house. Like I've been in my house for a week until yesterday. I went out to throw away the trash. Partly because I was sick, but partly because I don't mind not getting out of the house. But in my head, like I think a lot. There's like constant podcast in my head, several of them, broadcast, whatever. There's thoughts on different
Podcast
levels.
and broadcast.
There are all of them, and
Okay,
then something
okay.
is outside as well. Like there is just too
Forecast.
much. Yes.
I have such a picture in my head, like kind of antennas, like
Yeah. So I guess it's just my, and also like my memory maybe sometimes not that good, so that's why sometimes um I don't remember what it's like to be on a Monday, to be to exist in Monday on
hmm
Monday.
hmm
I can't remember right now, but it feels like I went through a journey because of my thoughts.
For me, I think it's not relevant because I mean, it works differently because I have a schedule of meetings with people every day. I don't have days off, and so every day I know what it is because I have certain people who I meet on that day, and
Hmm.
related routines and related everything. So like my actions
Hmm.
circulate around that, and I navigate through reality this way quite
Good schedules.
stably. Yeah. So I'm kind of constantly
Well, I do have a
anchored.
it's well, I do have a schedule. Obviously, like different work calls happen on typical days, and yeah, now I don't have like my Georgian classes or gym that I typically have on on specific days. But I don't think that actually affects me because whenever I used to have that schedule,
Hmm.
it still sometimes felt a little bit different.
Oh, it's
So
interesting.
I think that's good.
Recently I got a proposal to become a buddy to a person. Like, this buddy system,
Mm,
like mutual accountability. Like, you
yeah.
meet once a week, you report what you've done, what you want to do next time. And so I think you had a buddy, our mutual friend some years ago. It was Angelina, I think you were kind of like trying this system out now.
Oh, you mean like in just real life?
Yeah, like a real life
Yeah.
buddy, like where not when you coach younger
Um,
specialists, but when you are buddies
yeah.
with a person,
Yes,
like
yes, yes, yes.
mutual accountability. So I was offered to become one for my acquaintance, for
Mhm,
my friend, and I refused because of several factors, and one of them was that I realized that I actually have as many buddies as I have students. So, because I mentally prepare for each student, and I mentally prepare to be accountable for what I've been doing recently, like a week, a month,
mhm. Oh,
because
yeah.
like I have like it's not that not that they force me or they say like, Andy, you have to tell us, but I feel it's part of my profession to be confident that I'm not losing time and wasting time, or at least not all of it, so that I have the energy and authority and power, some kind of convincing power that I'm developing. And so I'm expecting similar things from you. And to have this power, I have to be actually doing something. So to actually be in control and to be confident that I'm not, I haven't been wasting time. And so to have another body is actually too much. It's overwhelming. And so that was one of the reasons why I declined. And I think this accountability that is daily, like I daily have to be able to answer the question, so how have you been? Can you,
Hmm.
like, what have your thoughts been, or what have you been doing? Like, and it can come out of a sudden from a person who has never asked that, like it happened today. A person who hasn't been interested in my personal life and my personality for 2 years just suddenly asked, like, so, okay, let's talk about you. And so I
Hmm.
had to be mentally immediately ready for that, and I was. And so every day I'm in this condition.
Do you think it's different from telling your friends or like your partner about how you've been?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it's different to tell how you've been to your friends or to your students? Is there a
Mm,
difference?
if my friends are on the same system, then no. But usually they're not.
What system?
Of mutual responsibility, mutual kind of update. See, like I ask my students, and they know they can ask me. With my friends,
Hmm.
it's not like that. So I actually am quite, I'm less, much less. No. So it depends. Like with you, for example, we have this similar system, right? Like I tell news, you tell news.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
with many of my friends, we don't have the same thing.
Mm.
Or not actually, no, not many anymore. Because I'm working on changing that, because I love this. I love this clarity. Like you share news, I share news, we discuss, end of the meeting. So something like that.
Yeah. I, I'm not just thinking like I have obviously like friends and I have like a boyfriend who I tell how I've been what's up every day. So how's the difference? That's a good question. Why I feel time differently than you,
Hmm.
and that's maybe you have a lot of, I would guess that you remember more in your head constantly than me. You are able to focus on stuff better. For example, when we talk, I noticed that
Mm.
you're more able to remember what you were about to say or what I was about to say than me.
Um, Probably professional deformation.
Yeah.
I mean, in no way is it some kind of. I mean, how do you feel about that? That Monday feels 1,000 years ago.
I don't think about that, to be honest. I don't feel about that.
Hmm. That's quite a statement. I don't feel about that. I love it. I haven't. I mean, languages are fascinating. I mean, 30,
Yeah.
almost 34 years on this planet, and I still haven't heard. I don't feel about that. I mean, it's wow. I don't feel about that. 6 words in this combination. Never ever. Okay, I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, so I didn't make it a big deal until you asked.
Hmm.
Didn't focus on that. And now, yeah, I don't feel anything about it. Like it's just how things are. And I
Hmm.
like it. I mean, I don't think about it because I like how it feels. So I don't put it in my priorities to analyze it,
Hmm.
I guess. Which can be also a philosophical thing. Do you analyze only what's bad? But probably yes, because that hurts you. And then you analyze what's going good in your life to maximize it, to make it better.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe now I will think about it, why it's happening. Maybe I'll have some ideas and I'll share them next week. Um, and going like back to our like questions or whatever, maybe we have like quick um, just like quickly share what we've been up to. If you do you want to share like how your week has been and what do you plan to do?
Yeah, I'm trying to just find some question in my head that we can use as the foundation. Uh, like, should it be abstract? Like you just said, like the week has how has it been and what it
Yeah,
promises
sure.
to be. Mm,
I mean, I kind of feel like it. I like it more because that's how we usually talk
mm,
with you when we call each other. Like,
hmm.
what's up? How are you?
Well, I first of all want to say that I will dash to the intercom in like 10 seconds. Oh, 10 seconds. 10. Wow, that's quite prediction level. So 10 minutes because the taxi will arrive and I'll have
Okay.
to open the door. So if you hear that loud noise, I apologize. I'll mute and go to the door.
Do
About
you
the
want to
week.
finish stream in 10 minutes?
No, no. I think we'll stay a bit longer because we started later than we planned because of my late preparation. So about the week, interestingly, days are fine. Weeks are harder. Like if you ask me, like how was your Monday, Tuesday, I can easily or relatively easily
Mm-hmm.
answer. But the week itself is a more complex entity, not as easy to analyze. So
More factors.
yeah. Another complication is that I can actually speak about the month. It's more like mm, proper. It's more appropriate here. Why? Because
Mhm.
I have been in a state of constant frustration that I still haven't uh, sent out my resume to different companies to boost my to increase the amount of work that I have. So you know this story. So I want to have more students, and I want to contact game studios to offer them my services as a English club moderator or maybe English teacher. By the way, if you need an English teacher, I'm ready. I'm here. So, and I haven't done that yet because I've been procrastinating, or I just haven't found time. But it's this case where there are a lot of tasks which are less important, and you gladly do them instead of focusing on the main task or the main task that you have in front of you. So I don't feel guilty that much because I have actually done a lot. On the other hand, I haven't done the most important thing yet. Besides, I have a relationship that just started 2 weeks ago, and so I cannot actually talk about that publicly. I don't want to yet because it's such a new thing. So and you can imagine that because so I'm being very careful about this relationship. I'm trying to do everything correctly. So it takes a lot of my attention and mental energy, which I happily invest. I'm happy to invest in this energy, but also it means that many other things are kind of slightly less important right now. Like, for example, my own like career development, even that is pushed away a bit because I'm trying to. I mean, I had wanted a relationship very much. I talked about that a lot on streams actually, and that was one of the big resolutions that I thought about in January, like either going to Middle East to work as a teacher or actually get in a relationship. And so the second thing happens, and I'm very happy about that. But because these are very so one thing is very simple to fucking sit down and write to different companies. It's like there is not much to talk about. I just need to do that. I know perfectly well what and how I need what to do and how to do that. And the second thing is just very complex, and there is not much stuff that I can talk about because it's very personal and it's at the neonate stage currently, and so things are kind of flexible and flowing around. So, and there are lesser things like I've had a little redecoration of my flat. I mean, redecoration, relocation of objects. So I took the sofa to the bedroom, brought a table for art to the living room, which I'm using right now, this table. Finally, my dining table is free to have freaking food there instead of having my setup on it and kind of trying to find a little corner to eat on it. It was very inconvenient, especially when you have guests and you have to take your gadgets somewhere away onto like into some different locations and hide them, just store them, and that was a lot of fuss each time. So now I'm quite happy that I have a working table, a dinner table, and a sofa in the bedroom. And I'm very annoyed by this background. I hate it. I hate this wallpaper. I abhor it. It's absolutely abominable. It reflects a lot of light. It's dirty color. All this flat, like a Joker. All I have is bad wallpaper. I mean, it's just horrible. So I was thinking today what to do with it. I thought I'm going to order two big canvases and I'm going to paint them over with nice colors and place them behind me as paintings, and that will probably be a solution. And I mastered cooking rice. I cooked rice which was crumbly, and that was very capricious rice, which is jasmine type. It sticks like hell. I soaked it for 3 hours, and they didn't stick in the end, and I was absolutely beyond myself. I mean, I was like, wow, I did it. I can move to another dish finally. Then my mother comes and says, look, soaking, very interesting, but you could actually fry it and that would be the same thing. And I was like, well, mother, do you have to like do you have to destroy my little world? Like I thought I reached the profound knowledge and some kind of like I got to the very foundation of wisdom, and no, and it's like when I once made. I was making crepes on three frying pans, and I bragged about that to my mother, to our mother, and she was like, "Well, very nice. I did that on four." And I was like, "No, my achievement is completely shattered in front of me. So I still have a
Oh,
challenge to complete to beat her record." But you know, most stoves come with four plates, not more than four, and so I can
well, you can
only
always buy a second stove with
or
that.
just yeah, a separate, portable one. So I can do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
or several ones. So there's never good enough, like, you
Yeah.
know.
Like Andrew, what the hell are you doing? I'm beating my mother's records.
There are like 10 separate stoves, you know, like those like two ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I actually heard that like about frying something like about buckwheat. I think I heard as well. I
Yeah,
haven't tried it yet,
but buckwheat, it works
but
like miracle. I mean, because
yeah,
buckwheat oil is released through frying it in oil and gets more delicious in that case. The same with carrot, the same I think with other things. So
yeah.
the intercom will call in I think 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. So be ready, and we can talk
Okay,
about your week maybe after the intercom calls. Maybe I'm going to mute
sure,
myself
no.
and go and wait just to not have this disturbance. Will you be able to entertain the audience for?
Oh, that would be
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
Well, now that's all actually quite. Let's wait for the sound. Yeah, it's actually quite hard to do. I used to stream a lot, drawing streams, and it was easy to talk when you just yourself. But then you have someone living. Like when I used to stream with someone, and someone used to leave, I always felt quite weird. And I guess the solution for that is to have three people, not two people. I was talking about how might be awkward to
Mhm.
talk to just yourself when you have, like, you know, when you used to have like streams with the guys, it was easier because one left and there are two talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We might get a third person one stream, or I mean, if you don't mind, just a special
Yeah, no
guest.
problem. Of course.
So how has been your week? It's still going on.
Um, well, yeah, as I said, I've been sick for almost like for a week and maybe more. So I've been just at home working. Not much happening like in my life as events or like going out or whatever. But yeah, the ideas in my head are constantly happening, I would say. So I'm looking at my like little list. um, I really like the meme that you sent me about to-do lists and ambitions and everything, because I because I have this to-do list that I constantly like. I can, well, it's a good thing to have like to make yourself a list of stuff that you have to do daily, to see what you actually can do daily, to compare your ambitions to reality and understand, well, if I actually have to do that, definitely there is no way around it. You can actually see what's going wrong every day, what's the common cases why you skip this activity every day. And that's how you, at least for me, how I address this issue faster, rather than just telling to myself, well, I, because I also don't remember how long have I not been doing this. Sometimes I feel like I just like drew yesterday, but actually it's been like a week ago or something. So yeah, I'm trying. Now I have this to do list, and I'm trying to readjust it a little bit to understand why I can. For example, the exercises. It's the hardest part. It's easier to go to gym, but to stand up and stretch between your work tasks, for some reason, it's harder. Yeah. Besides that, well, yeah, I've been watching a lot of AI videos about a lot of videos about robotics and new developments in the sphere, and just got like the biggest frustration about the uh, how the human mind is, I forgot the word, when there is like this, you can't go through a wall, for example. The wall is a
Corporeal. I mean, it's well, that's what we use about.
sure.
I mean, like incorporeal is like a ghost. Like you can go through it. It's
Not like a
solid. It's
not okay. So as a human, you can't learn something the way AI does. As like you can't learn something and remember it forever because it's in a database. You might forget it
mm,
at some point. And like as humans, we have maybe like well, we have all of those abilities at once, but and the robots typically have they train to do this or that. They don't have everything as we have. Not collision, but thanks. I'll remember it. I don't want to say it in Russian just to keep stream in English, or I can say it in Russian, or I can
what's the word?
translate it
I
actually.
I I
Well, let me translate it quickly. Sorry. Um, I'll try to. Oh, not Georgian. There are so many languages in my Google Translate. Um Limited. Sorry, that was very
the
easy.
wall is limited.
Limited. No, they. That was just a metaphor.
Mm,
Limited abilities that we have
mm,
as people, as humans, um, comparing to robots, sometimes to machines. Um, I can't think as fast as a machine. I can't reply as ChatGPT does. I
mm-hmm,
can't come up with a story in 1 second. Um, yes, using AI to translate now. I've been using AI to translate for years.
mm.
Um, yeah, so that I was just having this frustration. I don't know how to exactly. Um, does your stream work, by the way? Is my YouTube kind of froze? Or it's just a problem of, I guess, the internet.
Mm,
Uh,
I don't know. There are some disturbances. Yeah, there are some disturbances,
okay,
but I don't know.
dragon. Yes.
Let
Okay,
me
let's just wrap up.
let me refresh the page. Um, there are artifacts, which is
Yeah,
interesting,
absolutely.
and on Twitch as well. So I mean, that's very interesting. So I have a suspicion that Good Game might be having some issues with the encoding, uh, unless the same is happening on Good Game. No, it's not happening on Good. So it's the encoding, unfortunately. The platform that I use to restream is having
Mhm.
issues with well restreaming. So we are currently Lovecraftian creatures. I hope that's all right.
Well, me speaking about frustration of limited abilities as humans, I guess the kind of fits. Now we're on picture trying to become something more than humans.
Oh, it's stabilized, I think, or has it though?
We'll have a good recording, anyways.
Yes, not from the start, at least not from the actual start. But okay, let's just see how it ends up looking in the end. And please finish your idea.
Yeah, so that's my week. How it looked. I've been just intaking a lot of videos about technology, I guess, which made me just more curious about it. So I guess my plans for future weeks is to learn even more, because that it's actually curious how we can use it in real life, in our life, to automate, to optimize. That's fascinating to me.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I kind of liked the part at your previous streams about discussing plans for the next
Hmm.
week.
Yeah. Is the
S-
sound lagging too? Or
yeah,
I
hope the
mean,
sound is good.
like it's only the video or everything?
Can't get a sentence.
Wow, so the sound is also affected. Wow.
Sad.
Yeah, that means that the engine is actually corrupted. Ooh, hasn't happened for a while. Mm, the upload speed is alright. I mean, and good game is as good as anything. So, I'm
It's,
going.
I guess, just uh-huh.
I'm going to just drop the link to the game. Here it should be without lags, as it seems to be the restream service. Mm. Okay, I suggest that we finish still properly because the recording is fine, and let's have a decent end.
Yeah, my friends are just texting me that it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
stream.
Right.
So,
Mm-hmm. So I'll have
um,
to upload the file then. So you were saying that you liked the part that was about planning, kind of making plans for the next week.
yeah, so that we can next week we can discuss
Mm-hmm.
accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Funnily enough, I didn't think about my plans for the next week, so I have to, I guess, improvise. Maybe you want to start so that I have a little time to think what I want to do.
Yeah, so as far as I understood, you actually wanted to kind of catch up with your like curiosity with things you wanted to learn about. So, but I guess there will be something else. So for me, I would say that there are certain things that I have fallen behind with, like some tasks
Mhm.
like this job hunting and some other like kind of responsibilities and want tos. And I want to, I cannot specify because there are many. So one good thing would be to make a list of those things actually and to complete it. Uh, to stream more. I haven't streamed almost at all since last week, so Deus Ex is still waiting, and there are other games that are kind of on the list, not kind of that are on the list, and this year will bring me a lot of content to play. So I want to catch up with myself, and at the same time, I want to keep everything that has been happening at a decent level, so to keep my control and just how to say, organize my timeline time mm, organize my time in a way that I manage everything at a decent level and still have some time for myself. So I would say better time management, catching up with tasks, maintaining the same level uh, of handling life with the current tasks, the same level of handling the current tasks. Yeah, so something like
That's generally good goals for life, I guess.
that. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and I actually can agree on that. Like falling a little bit sick definitely affected my after work hours. I haven't been doing anything mostly. I've been just watching stuff, watching videos, watching TV shows, lectures, trying to get better. So for the next week, I hope that this weekend I'll be finally free of the sickness, this illness, and I'll be able to complete the tasks, to draw more, to study more, to walk around the world more. Um, yeah, kind of want to leave my apartment finally to see what's up outside. Yeah, so I definitely agree. I'm just thinking that it sounds way too vague for me to analyze it later. So that's why I want to. Yeah, not sure to how to say, but I guess I agree on making a plan for the next week and then completing that plan. That's 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 a good way to start.
So, do we make a pledge to our viewers to reappear here at the same time on the same day of the week next week, like Thursday,
Definitely.
7 o'clock, or yeah, 7 o'clock Moscow, 8 o'clock Tbilisi, 11 o'clock p.m. Krasnoyarsk, and so on and so forth. I just thought that it has to be retrospective, like not like it has to be going back. So and so on and so forth is a forward directed phrase. So what has to be the backward directed, like and so out and so back and so
But
out and so back. because we say because out is a natural antagonist of on, like on and out. Wait, on and off, in and out, on and off. So and so off and so back. It sounds,
yeah,
I don't know. It sounds ridiculously stellar. I don't know. It is it's just so fresh. So we I think we have born
but
two great phrases today. I don't feel about that, and so off and so back.
frankly speaking, I think if I heard someone telling me something like that, I would take a second to analyze what the hell,
Yeah.
what am I even hearing?
But did you get what I meant? Like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 11 o'clock is we're like at the end of the time zones line.
Yeah,
And so like for people who are like in the US and in Europe, it's earlier, and so I couldn't say and so on and so forth because that would be forward, and I wanted the backward direction. So that's why I invented this so off and so back.
yes.
You look is it like a tentative yes to just escape my my absolutely ludicrous explanations? Well, I hope I made some sense here. And so yeah,
I'm
next.
just yeah. I've been trying to grasp my idea of looking at time zones in my head. I place them geographically in my head, and for some reason, like Krasnoyarsk and Moscow is like kind of there, and Tbilisi is like they're mixed, and I'm trying to understand, like, is Tbilisi more western than Moscow or not?
It's eastern.
Um,
It's to the east because
so
it's
so that's why when you say first. You actually said first Moscow, then Tbilisi,
yeah,
then
yeah.
it made sense. Yeah, but for me, for some reason, like going geographically, for some reason, made
Right.
sense to say like Tbilisi, Moscow, first. So I was just like analyzing geography. Not good at geography sometimes. Yeah. So it was not yes trying to escape. It was yes I'm trying to compute something else in my mind as you're speaking as well. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
That was a good laugh. So
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
let's also
But short
thank.
answer is yes. We will meet in a week.
Yeah, the same time, and let's thank our dear audience. So Natalia, Otto, and Alex, thank you a million
And I know Oksana was
for.
watching as well.
Oh, Oksana,
So
thank you very much
yes, yeah,
too, of course, and anyone who has been silent,
yeah,
we are very grateful. Well, I mean, those who contribute, like by sending commentaries, it helps a lot because you feel that you talk to real people and not just sitting here alone. Secondly, it gives some like different angles to the conversation, so it's very appreciated. Yeah,
Yeah. And thank you for the questions that sparked
yeah,
a whole
absolutely.
discussion.
Yes, yes. So I'll check the recording. If it is damaged, I will re-upload it and then make a post as always. And yeah, so Nancy, thank you very much. It I think was a decent start. We'll probably stay for a couple of minutes after I stop the stream just to exchange a few words. But all in conclusion, or just all in all, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to talk to you this way, in this format.
Likewise, likewise, I want to say thank you to guys who've been listening. Thank you very much, and thank you to you, Andy, for inviting and suggesting the idea.
Right.
Finally doing that.
My
This
pleasure.
podcast, yeah.
So I'm going to stop the stream now. Everyone take care, and till next meeting. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye.